Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Andy, and I love to talk about fun things to do in Florida, from the theme parks to the state parks, and everywhere in between. This past weekend, I was invited to come check out MEGACON Orlando, an absolutely enormous fan convention for all those things that kind of fall into that little bit of that geek universe. Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and all that kind of stuff, comic books, video games. And I'd never been to one of these before. I was pretty excited to check it out, so let's go check it out and see what we saw. First walking in here, I was struck by the absolute enormity of the thing. This was the first convention like this I've ever been to before. I'm told this is one of the largest ones, and I believe I was told the largest one is out in San Diego each year, but I can't imagine anything being much larger than this. The Orange County Convention Center is massive, and this took up the entire thing. You first walk in there, and it was just merch booth after merch booth after merch booth selling t-shirts, comic books, art, posters, Funko Pops. Funko Pops. Funko Pops. Hey, there's a Funko Pop booth. Did I mention there's Funko Pops? Lots and lots of Funko Pop booths at this thing, and I could not believe how much some of these are going for. It's crazy, because some of these I remember literally seeing in stores and not even thinking anything of it. Some of these are going for $780, $350. It's insane what people are paying for these now. And full disclosure, I do collect them too. I like the music ones. This is Weird Al Yankovic right here, and I've got a few other like rock and metal ones right behind me over here. So I'm not going to judge. I kind of like them too. If you're into a certain fandom, they're kind of a cool thing to just have in your house and decorate your office with. But this place was just Funko Pop-A-Palooza. A lot of vintage toys. Got to see some Star Wars guys that I used to have as a kid, and it was neat to see that they have not inflated in value as much as you'd think. Although some of the ones that I did see there, they were not like in the package brand new. They were played with and used, and I wasn't keeping them in the packages when I was a kid. I was playing with them in the sandbox. A lot of t-shirts, a lot of just collectibles of all kinds at this thing. Everything under the geek universe was available for sale here. So this is pretty awesome. Signed picture by the entire Avengers staff. Signed autograph poster from the entire Avengers team. I think that's awesome. I mean, they might $8,500. That's the one I'd get. And the Golden Girls are here too, the other Avengers. So Shannon has like this phobia, this thing totally against inflatable Christmas decorations. But she said
I don't have a phobia.
Is it a phobia? It's not a phobia?
It's not a phobia. I just think they're kind of tacky.
Tacky, trashy. But she said that we can get Jabba the Hutt. You did say we can put Jabba the Hutt in the front yard. So
yeah,
you heard that. You've got that on video. You've got that in writing.
Of course.
Jabba the Hutt's going on our yard. Something that I thought was particularly cool was seeing all the artists at work. You went through here and there was a lot of comic book artists that personally I didn't recognize a lot of the names there. I'm not a big comic book guy myself, more into the movies and TV shows. More of a normie, I guess you'd call me. But it was cool to see all these artists out there doing their work and drawing and creating art right there. And if you're a big fan of a particular artist, you could meet and greet them and walk up to them and say hi and sign one of the comics that they had written or drew. I was actually really surprised to see how many tattoo artists were right here live tattooing people. So I'm sure there are people that know there's a specific artist that they have been wanting to get tattooed from, and they know they're going to be at this con, and they came out there and did it. There was one guy who specializes in Star Wars art, and I met a guy who had a complete Star Wars back piece. I had the Millennium Falcon on his back, and he was getting Chewbacca tattooed on his leg. Got a chance to see him, but that was pretty wild to see people just out in the middle of the convention getting tattooed. A lot of the artists would do meet and greets and Q&A sessions, and I'm watching one of the Q&A sessions with some comic book artists, and my wife Shannon says, "Hey Andy, isn't that one of those YouTubers you watch a lot?" And I turn around and I look and I see Sean Chandler is sitting there doing a meet and greet with people. So I walk over there, and I did not expect to take much of his time. I was just going to walk up and say, "Hey Sean, I watch your stuff a lot, and I just wanted to let you know I'm a fan," that kind of a thing. And he could not have been nicer. He sat and talked to me for about 10 or 15 minutes, just shooting the breeze with me, just the coolest guy. And I told him, I said, "I'm really happy I ran into you specifically." And the reason why is because he does these lists on his channel. He'll talk about like his favorite Marvel villain or something like that, or rank all the Star Wars movies and stuff like that. And he says, "This isn't the correct list, it's just my list." And I heard him say that, and I thought, I'm going to use that. I really, really like that. And one of my earlier videos on this channel a few years back was a video I did called The Top 10 Roller Coasters in Florida. And I put Space Mountain as number one. And I don't know why I did that. I think it might have just been nostalgia, or it's one of the more iconic roller coasters that kind of goes through generations. I was on it when I was a kid, and now I'm taking my kids on it. My kids may take their kids on it. So it's one of those shared experiences we've all had. So I put Space Mountain at number one. And you guys in the comments let me have it. You were like, "Space Mountain number one, what is wrong with you? Mako, all these rides at Busch Gardens you guys were calling out." And ever since that experience, I thought, you know what? This isn't the correct list. It's just my list. And I went and talked to him, and I said, "Sean, I want to let you know I've kind of stolen a phrase you use." And I say it's not the correct list. It's just my list. And it keeps the trolls out of the comment section a little bit. And he said, "I love it. Steal away. Anything that can make the comment section a nicer, friendlier place, I'm all for." So I'm going to continue using that with Sean's blessing. Thanks a lot, Sean. And if you've never heard of him or seen his channel, check him out. It's a really great spot. Really great channel. I won! I won! The celebrity list at this thing was massive. I've always kind of thought of the celebrities that come to these sort of conventions as maybe being, I don't know if I want to say has-been, that's not a really nice thing to say, but maybe past their prime, actors and actresses that have maybe done things 20 years ago. Ralph Macchio was one of those guys here that I probably would have put into that category of being someone whose better days were behind them. Until, that little show called Cobra Kai came out, and now he's super relevant again, and he was out there with the entire cast of Cobra Kai. So you could meet him, you could do a meet and greet with Ralph Macchio and William Zabka and the rest of those guys there, and very cool. Huge lines for these people. Giancarlo Esposito was there. He's in, you may know him from Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian. Charlie Cox was there from Daredevil. Vincent D'Onofrio was there. And these are guys that are still really relevant and still current and still very popular in the MCU and the Star Wars universe and all that. Neve Campbell from Scream was there. A lot of the cast from the original Scream movies were there. Chevy Chase was there. Chevy Chase was doing meet and greets and photo ops in front of the family truckster from the first Vacation movie. Christy Brinkley was there, and Anthony Michael Hall were there from the original Vacation movies. And Anthony Michael Hall, definitely one of those icons of the 80s. Got to see him there. A lot of big names at this thing. The celebrity list was very impressive. Personally, I didn't meet or greet any of them, but it was just kind of cool to see them from the distance. And you cannot go to one of these things without talking about the cosplayers. Absolutely phenomenal, the amount of detail and work some of these people put into their costumes. All the ones you'd expect were there. A lot of Star Wars, a lot of Mandalorians walking around, Stormtroopers, a lot of characters from Marvel and Harry Potter. Actually, not as many Harry Potter as you'd think. There were a few. There was a really great Dumbledore that I ran into, but not as many as you'd think. A lot of different fandoms being represented. A lot of people who I honestly didn't even recognize. I had to ask my kids, who's that guy right over there? And they would tell me if I didn't know. And very, very cool. There was a spot called Cosplay Alley, I want to say, where people would gather and you could do all kinds of photo ops and you could meet and greet and talk to people, and people would meet in groups. And if you saw a bunch of Star Wars people, they would meet together and you would do a photo session with all of them. And a lot of these groups had booths set up where they were fundraising or trying to raise money for a specific cause. S.H.I.E.L.D. was there, or I guess a bunch of cosplayers who represent S.H.I.E.L.D., one of the government agencies from the Marvel Universe. And they were actually raising money for a gentleman who recently passed away, who used to come to events as a lookalike of Stan Lee. And this guy was an absolute dead ringer for Stan Lee. I saw a cutout of him, a cardboard cutout, and I thought it was the real Stan Lee, just a cardboard cutout of Stan Lee. And they said, no, he was a big fan, and he passed away, and we're raising money for his family. The 501st, the Star Wars Stormtrooper troop that raises money for different causes, were there. A lot of Mandalorians there, and they had an area set up that was very elaborate, a Star Wars area that was, I mean, I'm not going to say it was as good as Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, but it was really great for something like this that's a temporary 3-day setup. Set it up and tear it down. They put a lot of work into that Star Wars area, and it was very impressive to walk through and meet and greet everybody. One thing that really kind of struck me more than I think I expected it to was they had this large banner and it said, like, what's your fandom? And they were inviting people to take a marker and write what they're a fan of. And being something like this, I would expect to see a lot of Star Wars, a lot of Marvel, maybe some Harry Potter, and whatever else, video game franchises are big right now. And I look at this, and people are writing on there, and I look at it closely, and there are so many different fan universes written on there that I was not familiar with. I didn't know what any of these were, and I had to talk to my kids and say, do you even know what some of these are? And they didn't know. There was a lot of Marvel, like I said, and people were writing in their favorite characters, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Batman. But seeing all these fairly, maybe they're not obscure, but fairly obscure or things that I'd never heard of up there, made me realize just how big the universe is and just how diverse different people's interests are to see all these things up there. And you came to this comic convention, to this MegaCon, and your thing is this random thing that you're really into, and you wrote it, you're into it so much you wrote it on there to show the world, yep, this is my thing. And I thought that was really cool to look at this and see all these just thousands of different things that people are a fan of on there. Way, way, way more than I would have expected to see. And I really like that, to see that, how big the fandom universe is and how diverse people are with their interests. So So this was my first time ever going to anything like this, and it definitely won't be my last. I had a really good time at something like this. And I'm not gonna say I'm gonna dress up next time. Watching all the cosplayers walking around, it looked like a lot of fun, but you just can't be someone who's shy about taking pictures, because if you're gonna walk around there in full Mandalorian armor, people are gonna stop you and they're gonna want to get a picture with you, and it's gonna happen over and over and over again. But it looked like a lot of fun, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do it, but you never know. So that's going to do it for my trip to MEGACON Orlando 2023. Thanks for watching my review, thoughts, reactions, just overall feelings about the event. I loved it. Can't wait to go next time. And let me know if there's any other of these events in Florida or beyond that I should check out. And hey, give me a recommendation for what I should dress up as next time. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, hit that bell, and we will see you guys next time.